It's not just beer, it's people, it's artists, it's a community.
All right. Hey, welcome to the Makers Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Craig. I'm the producer of Crafted and the Makers as well. And the Makers is brought to you by Crafted Media.
Hey guys, this is Bobby with Bo Weekends Beer Company.
Hey, this is Lola with Hourglass Brewing.
Hey, y'all. I'm Mike. Oh, dang.
We can
I'm Mike.
post.
No. Keep that in, please. I'm Mike Semenec with DSSOLVR Brewing Company. I am the creative director here and part owner.
Awesome.
Stumbler out the gate here.
I should have said it with the Makers too.
Yeah.
That's how
I do marketing. Well, Bobby didn't say what he was doing, so I just said my name too.
I figured, like, I've said it a couple times before, so
Yeah.
I should have reintroduced myself. Lola with Hourglass. I also do marketing with me.
come up with new titles next time.
Let's identify our titles.
Great. Well, welcome all. So today, Mike is our special guest for the day, and we're going to be talking about art and the role it sort of plays in craft beer. I keep juggling between calling it art and graphic design. It's not my thing, other than I appreciate it and I love it. Is there a difference between the two? Like, Mike, is there a difference between art and graphic design?
Yeah, I'd say so, for sure. Like, you can definitely use art with your graphic design. You can design with an art mentality, but I would always kind of consider the two things a little bit separate. Like, I'd definitely say the graphic design route or just even design mentality always has maybe a monetary idea in the end, like some sort of capitalistic goal. So, with everything we design here, it's, at the end purpose is to try to sell the beverage we're making here. So as well as like represent and portray like the type of brand and personality that, our company is or a company could be. So whereas I feel like art is maybe more of an individualistic thing or trying to represent an idea that maybe not necessarily tied to capitalism, but I'd say there's a difference in there.
I would agree. I actually worked at Bowigan's, so I did all of the graphic design, labels, artwork for Bowigan's, and I had no experience. I mean, I didn't get a YCOM drawing tablet until when, Bobby?
A couple of years in.
Yeah. And before that, I was literally pen to paper drawing labels,
We'd
scanning
go to Illustrator
the
and then trace it, and
yeah,
it was rough.
It was rough. I think the anniversary beer, the Theogenes, he was like, "Do you have the file for Theo?" I'm like, "No, I have the piece of paper that I drew it on." So I definitely agree. It's a very graphic design is a very learned, skilled thing that I'm starting to learn a little bit more about. And Bobby was kind enough to teach me Photoshop and Illustrator, and I'm still kind of learning, but it is a very, again, it's like a skilled talent to be able to do graphic design. I can draw stuff and it's just, I would tend to agree.
You're more of a, Lola does a lot of illustrations and she's really good at drawing that. And so where I came in very mediocrely is trying to piece stuff together, Photoshop or whatever. So I kind of agree with Mike there too. There's a difference between the graphic design and being an artist. Like, I consider myself a creative person and an artist in different aspects, but not when it comes to digital media. I can piece things together and put some words in different places, but other than that, I would not consider myself an artist animal in the
especially especially once you start slapping some marketing messaging on there. Yeah, it kind of gets away from that. But you know, still doesn't mean it can't be fun and awesome and all the cool things that a lot of good art is. You know, it can still carry a lot of that.
Absolutely. And that was the fun of it too. It was just kind of learning both sides. Cause I learned a lot from just using the tools. Cause I was pen to paper. I was, brush to canvas. Like I didn't have any experience with using a program that would allow me to like manipulate the artwork and change it and use an eraser that wasn't on a pencil and correct mistakes without like overdrawing over it. So it was a really fun experience just getting to learn how to use that and just the drawing tablet and getting into graphic design. I still am such a novice. Like a lot of my work is still hand drawn on the Wacom. So all of the labels that I drew for Bowegans were just hand drawn. Like they weren't images that were manipulated. It was like, it took so long for me to get anything out. You don't have to nod, but it would, because it was, again, like I couldn't show him different manipulated things. I didn't have the experience with the programs. And I think it's incredible learning about it now, how much you can do with like Illustrator and Photoshop and how you can like showcase the essence of the beer and be able to like demonstrate artwork with graphic design. And like you said, the marketability, like being able to use it in a more corporate way that has value in the market. So I think it's interesting to kind of blend the two. And I'm trying to learn how I can vector now, Bobby, by the way.
Hey, all right.
Well, Mike, could you give us like a little bit of a history on your end? You were doing graphic design for some pretty big brands beforehand. And then, a follow up to that, I want to talk about your Instagram feed, which I think you guys are really well known for as well.
Ridiculous, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it is. It blows my mind. Something. Yeah, it's definitely taken a piece of my mind away from me for sure. But I started my design career maybe a little bit younger, like got really into screen printing and making t-shirts when I was younger. As soon as you tell anyone you can make t-shirts, everyone's got the $1 million t-shirt idea. So you get constantly pitched, but it was like, starting off with that and learning how to make some imagery and then make imagery that people wanted to then go on a t-shirt, like was like kind of my first experiences. And that kind of led me down the path to then getting more into the creative field. Went to art school to get my bachelor's in design. And then from there jumped into the advertising world and worked for a few agencies in the Boston area for, 4 or 5 years before making my way to Providence, Rhode Island and working for a smaller shop. But along that way, I worked for some pretty big clients, like nationwide brands like that were, Progressive Car Insurance, the Center for Disease Control. I was doing like part of their anti-tobacco campaign, which is called Tips from Former Smokers. So if you ever watch those like really gruesome ones with people talking through their stomas and shit, yeah, I was there awesome. Like photoshopping holes in people's necks to either make them look less gruesome or more gruesome, depending on what the ask was. But, from there, it was like some more playful stuff like Otis Spunkmeyer cookies. That was a lot of fun. Light Life, they do like meat alternatives like vegetarian and vegan meats. And then, just a handful of other clients, New Balance shoes. And got a really good dose of like working for high level brands, but trying to bring an amount of fun or creativity to those brands that doing that stuff was like a whole new experience and every step of the way, very, very challenging and rewarding. But yeah, doing that stuff was really cool, especially because, bringing it back to the Instagram, this is like my first and my primary responsibilities were building out like digital campaigns for these companies. So have it be like social media campaigns or just like paid media going on to different websites. So like banner ads and stuff like that. Oh, so many freaking banner ads. But
I love it. That's awesome.
Jumped into like social media and working on those kind of campaigns right when like Facebook was just starting to pick up the advertising game more and more. So they were just turning on like bigger ad spends and then video ads as well. So actually the company I worked for at the time, they ran Progressive car insurance, like, so the Flow campaigns and stuff like that. They were the first company to buy Facebook video ads. So I was part of like the reckoning that has ruined our brains since then. But
well, you did a great job because those are things that we all recognize and remember. So
and use at this point.
And use, absolutely.
Yeah.
I did some cover art for like a band album. So
Heck yeah.
So your Instagram feed, obviously you put a lot of thought into how to weave that all together, I would assume.
Yeah. I wish I put more thought in the beginning because it's just, I started it and I was like, yeah, this is just going to be something I do to like kind of kick the brand off. There's no way I could like keep it up. And then I'm here like, it's I think about 3 years of doing it, one continuous connecting grid feed there, and it's
awesome. It looks it's crazy. Like just going back and through it, I'm like, he really did it from the start. Everything's cohesive. That's I thought it was really cool the way you guys are able to pull that off and continuously like evolve it.
Yeah, I feel like a trip doing it.
I feel like you're stuck now. You can't ever break that, right?
Yeah. To kick up other Instagram accounts to like, so I don't break the grid I'm working on. Now I have a tap room page. I just started a wine page, which I haven't really posted there yet. But then, now I'm managing that. Trying to dabble in the TikTok now.
I'm
not dancing, but I'm trying some stuff.
Not yet.
It's hard. It's so hard to, there's so many outlets, there's so many social media outlets, and it's ever changing and everyone's competing with one another, and you have to kind of like just grow with it and determine the demographic for craft beer. It's going to change year over year because as soon as someone turns 21, you're going to want to capture that audience. So you want to be relevant to the younger group. And I'm 37. So like me on TikTok, I have like all of 12 followers. One's probably my mom. And like,
she follows me too, Lola.
Yeah. Okay. She probably does. She loves it. But anyway, so it's like, that's something that I've had to research and kind of learn and, get familiarized with too, because all these platforms, like they have different purposes too. So like, it's really great to see people being really successful in those avenues. Cause it's just, I went to school for accounting and finance. Art has always just been this passion of mine. And I never really got to tune into it until I started working for Bo Wiegans. And, Bobby and Kevin were just like, all right, go ahead, do it all, like whatever. And, we'll closely follow, but like you have this like creative freedom to start learning and understanding how to market a brewery. And it's changed from 2015 to now tremendously, both all the social media platforms, where the engagement is and how to capture that audience, like with those graphics, with the like, and there's all these apps that you can have that gets oversaturated. So if you don't have that creative outlook, that creative eye, it gets lost. So you have that ability to kind of bring that forward, which is awesome. And it's become like an integral part of our brand now. Like, it's like either one of the first things they say is like, oh, your beer is amazing, or it's damn, your Instagram blows my freaking mind. I don't understand it. And I love that because it's a good like juxtaposition between what my business partner and my best friend Vince does. He's our head brewer, runs our production. He writes all the recipes. He
like guides that part of the ship. And then I'm here on the marketing side running, I'm up to a 4-person team essentially now. I have another designer working with me. I have a brand manager that handles all of helps out and handles events, internal and external, as well as running all our merch stuff, and then all of our shipping. And then we have another part-time events person. So we're all meeting weekly now to figure out and how to conquer this next week, this next month, and the quarter, and then the whole year essentially. So it's a little bit more than just making the Instagram at this point. It's I wish I could just do that. That'd be awesome. But it's always turning and burning on labels. It's getting these events ready and getting all the promo for that stuff together. Events, if they have decorations, getting all that stuff together, poster printing, a list of on and on of things that we're constantly either making or refreshing and preparing to keep this ship going. So it's nuts.
A lot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've always said that we're essentially we put everything we have into the beer, but essentially what it comes down to, we're a media company that also happens to make beer.
Yeah.
That's almost what it feels like sometimes.
Well, you have to set yourself apart, and you also have to have this identity, and that's having a team is crucial, and you have to work yourself to that. At Bowegans, it was just me and Bobby for the longest time, just doing all the marketing, all the design work, everything creative. Even he was building out the recipes before he had an assistant brewer. In the beginning, it's just all hands on deck. Everyone has to do everything. And it's a lot. In order to be successful, it's a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's always
really nice to get to this point. Yeah. Yeah, I know we started off and it was essentially me and our GM at the time who also had some design chops and was like, I just want to make labels and stuff. So I was like, cool, because I have a million labels to make and not so much time to do it in. And yeah, we were going strong. And then, our brewery opened in December of 2019. So we quickly ran right into the pandemic, and we were rough. 3 months in, and then we were 5 months closed. So, we had to tighten the belt up pretty quickly. And, from there it was interesting. It was a lot of myself just doing a bunch of things, a bunch of label work, as well as, hey, I'm going to do home deliveries now too. So loading up the Mazda and cruising around town to drop off beers, and then getting back and working on labels and Instagram posts and other stuff to just say, hey, we're still here. We're cruising through this shutdown. But now we're that much further out from when we were allowed to open the tap room back up. We've staffed up a whole bunch, and 2022 is really going to be a much, much smoother year. We're thinking as far as getting our events going again, participating in outside events. It should be, I'm already looking at a jam-packed calendar for this year. And that's all that means. It's plenty of work for pushing and letting people know that we're doing those things. So yeah. And all that means making cool graphics and artwork that do go with it. So it's the dream I've been wanting for years and years. And, I get to oversee a lot of that. So
I think there was a couple of things I wanted to ask that sort of relate to this. And sorry, I'm also watching a clock. We got about 8 minutes before we may have to switch over and start again.
Perfect. 'Cause my computer's about to die. So
get your outlet and plug it in.
I need to. I left it at my office. I text Joe to see if he can grab it for me, but if we have a break, that'd be great.
So I think maybe the shorter of the two questions I'll sort of throw out there. I think it's important. The artwork, the graphic design that goes on the cans is obviously super important. And I want to circle back to that because I want to talk about how important it is and how important it is to carry that over into the marketing, into the tap room, and also at the retailer level. When people walk into a store and are faced with a wall of beer, it's like, you want to stand out, right? But before I get to that, is it important, do you think, because you're making so many labels and so many different beers throughout the year, that the artwork represents the liquid inside of the can? Because at the end of the day, like, what matters the most is that you're putting out really good beer, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I feel like a successful label does a lot of all of that at the same time. It represents the brand very well. It speaks to itself on the shelves, pops out there, as well as like tell you a bit about what's going on inside the can. So for example, here we have our just released full loop Irish stout. So putting this out a little bit ahead of St. Patrick's Day, getting our seasonals out a little bit earlier, we found has done really, really well. But for us, for moving a brand, particularly one tied to a holiday or like seasonal. So full loop, this is the second time we put out this Irish stout, and always tweaking it a little bit.
Can you pull up the can one more time? I want to see it. I apologize.
Yeah.
My computer was literally about to
do it from this way.
That's sick.
So, yeah. So going with the Celtic knot there, but it's a snake. Yeah. We use a lot of snakes. There's an eyeball now in there, like eyeballs with my brand. If you can't tell. See in the background. Yeah. So yeah, that I feel like those parts definitely carry through. Full loop just being this like cyclical thing, one tying to the fact that this is one of our like forever seasonals. We'll probably keep putting this out every year for our St. Patrick's Day celebration. Probably a good way to also remember, like the day before the first St. Patrick's Day we would have had, we shut it down here, but but this year, I'm super fun, super excited about the label. Added a bit of metallic to this one this year. It used to have, instead of the eyeball, was it was a globe there. If you believe in a full globe Earth, it had that on there. So, yeah. But I'm really stoked with this one this year, and that's part of the fun about it too. It's like I get to make a piece, but get to revisit it when we do like a re-release of it and stuff. And like, I didn't like that little part of what I did last time, so I get that opportunity to make that little correction and stuff. Which I feel like you could lose if you don't have that artist in-house or the artist that cares to make those corrections. Like, I already did that label, I don't need to touch it again. But for me, it's like, shoot, I noticed that last year and I'd really love to fix it this year, and I get to do that, and that stuff will haunt me if I can't correct it. So yeah.
Let me ask you this too about like as far as going into the naming of the beer too, are you heavily involved in that? Does that go into the process when you're
pretty much name every beer? And then, sometimes the artwork helps dictate that, or sometimes I have a name and artwork comes from that. So I wish it was. I was
just going to say that. Yeah. It's blended. Like, you want to have brand identity. You want to be able to see the artwork and be like, that's a, Hourglass, that's a Dissolver, that's a Bowegans, that's that brand. And, you have all these creative minds, and sometimes you have to find a way to like fine tune that, take your creative flair and be able to like portray like not only what the beer is, but the essence of the brewery and the essence of the brand. So I've always found like a way to tie in when, doing the Bohemians beers, I would find a way to tie in like my creative essence into what speaks to the beer and what it means to me. As far as, including weird looking fruits, or just and then also like the naming convention was really important too, because we've had beers that the label was just for the name of the beer and it had nothing to do with the product that was inside of it. So like, I think cold brew that we did, it was just because the name of the beer came from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I just drew the characters and used the font and played with that. So it was just a blend of it, but also utilizing the same illustration, the same style of the brand. So there's brand awareness, and then there's also this creative flair that ties into the name as well. Like there's just so many facets of it that tie in together. And then there's sometimes it's just fun to just run with it and be like, you know what, I think it'd be really cool if we did this. And just do it. And it's great. Like I think with dual hop, that was we were running low on time and Bobby was like, screw it, you have full creative freedom. And I just went for it. And I did this like dual perspective art piece with a skull and hops. And he's like, no one is going to know that that's dual perspective hop, that it ties into dual. But I was like, yeah, exactly. He's like, but it looks cool. So
it sparked that inspiration to get that done. So
exactly.
And it's like, no one even knows, like, it's so hard to like predict like what's going to sell the best too. Like I could make something and spend like a whole week on a label and that one just falls flat. It could be the best beer we have too. And then like I could spend 10 minutes on one and it becomes something we have to make all the time because people like it.
The worst. Okay. I have to tell you the worst one. And it's the most popular one. And it's not the worst one. It was just, Bobby's creative, has a creative mind, has his own life, and we'll figure it out, Bobby. That's where I'm going with. So we were going back and forth on this label. And I was just like, what if we did this? What if we did this? And we couldn't figure it out. And that was a phrase that he would always say. So I took a blank canvas and just font and said, we'll figure it out. And the beard style and
Times New Roman
on a white canvas, and people loved it. And he, okay, we'll do it. And I was just like, what? No.
It was great.
It was great.
Our logo, it just said Bohemians in lowercase.
It just said, I want to pull it up.
It what, lager? Yeah, I was going to try. That was She's trying to be a smart ass, like, here, how about this? I'm like, perfect. Put lager. Got it.
Yes. Hell yeah.
It was, go ahead.
I'm still making it and canning it to this day.
It was so well received. I think at this point, we have they have like a account that just wanted the label so badly that they bought the label just for their account. And
it's perfect. Perfectly tongue in cheek there. It was
your best work.
God. So I went to because I did sales there too. So I went to the sales account and they were just like, so what will it take? Because we were offering private labels. And they were like, what will it take for us to get like one of your labels that you've already done as our own? And I'm like, which one of my like artwork did you love so much that you want to use as your own? And they're like, we'll figure it out.
Yes.
Okay. That was a really great phone call to Bobby. I'm like, hey, is it okay if we give them this? It's their favorite of all of my artwork.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Lucky it was Disney.
It was Disney, yeah.
It was Disney. I was so excited. They're like, wait, you do all the artwork? Well, there's one can that we love so much that we want to brand as our own.
Oh, wow.
Was it really Disney?
It was.
It's an account at Disney.
Oh, gee, I thought you were just joking.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No. I had to sit at that meeting and I was just like, which piece of artwork did you love so much that you want to take as your own? And that was it.
That's super cool. That's so cool.
Bobby's still laughing about it.
Do they still carry it?
Oh yeah.
They do.
Is it like a store that's on Disney property?
Wine Bar George.
Oh, okay.
And they're like Disney Springs, like the restaurants. And it's one of their best moving beers.
Wow. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I did have to change it and add Wine Bar George to the bottom.
Yep.
Oh.
And Times New Roman. So like
that must have been a tough change to make.
It was really difficult. It took a lot of
I'm sure you could figure it out again, you know. Oh.
well, then we redid the beer and we had to rebrand it, and we figured it out, and it was just like the inversion of it. It was just black with white Times New Roman.
Perfect.
Font, and people loved it too. So like. Oh God, I do better. Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was different font. I think it was like Calvary or something different.
The thing was, that one did take us a while just because we went back and forth so many times. And then
that's right. That's right.
The font can be the most important part.
Oh God, it is. But it was just, again, it's funny what will work. In this market, like it took something just clever and funny and simple and not anything that anybody would ever expect. And they just loved it. They ran with it. That beer sold so quickly. The beer was great itself, but people looked at that and were like, did they really just Times New Roman?
Hey, there you go.
That's perfect.
Yeah. I know like one of the labels I did in like an hour was, for this cake stout series we have called Fill Thy Cake Hole. And I just thought that was a funny name. And I had found this like public domain image from the British Library of Congress. And I was like, threw it on there. It was just like an old timey dude with, had a mirror and he's showing it to his wife or whatever. And I was like, damn, that mirror kind of just looks like a big plate. So I just slapped a big cake on it and threw that name on there. And to this day, like, we cannot, like, we put out that beer every quarter just about now. And it sells so freaking fast. We change it up now where it's like, instead of cake hole, it'll become space hole, and it gets like astronaut ice cream cake candies in there. And then what was the last one we did? Yeah, I think we're going to do donut hole next and just keep that going. Like, that shit is just insane for something I spent, an hour on it at the most. It just, keeps going like that.
Sometimes, like I said, it'll come together like super quick. You throw it together, and then it's like, oh my gosh, it works. You put it out there, and then it catches fire. And sometimes you just spend forever.
Yeah, entirely too much time.
Make it work. Yeah.
I think it took like 5 years before we decided on our core branding. Or your core branding for Bowegans. Like, it took forever to just like hone in on the core branded labels, because it was just like, it has to work. It has to be this, well advertised, like identifiable, just the brand has to be really cohesive. And it took forever. Like, we took long on perfecting it. It took years.
Oh, I hear it. Like the DSSOLVR brand too. It's DSSOLVR now, but it was a different brand we had, going back to our homebrew days. So like, just as I was finishing school, I met my business partner. We both worked at a liquor store in Boston. And so we were getting access to like some pretty cool craft beer that was just springing up at the time. As well as plenty of Harpoon or some Sam Adams there.
Absolutely.
But we started like really diving into the craft beer scene that was blossoming in Boston at that time, like visiting different breweries that were just starting up. Like, at that time, Night Shift had just started, and Idle Hands, and Trillium was still probably a couple of years away. We became super enamored and started homebrewing like every weekend, and pretty much created a small like half barrel system brew house, and like had a full fermentation chamber in our basement. And we lived in a pretty exceptional rental for the Boston area that we kind of frat housed out with a few other buddies of ours. But this place had an in-ground pool in the backyard. So like literally every weekend we're having like pool parties with our homebrew. And that was a good way to like kind of start developing ideas for our brand, and which we did. Like I started making labels and had a small like homebrew brand for ourselves. And we're starting to like kind of line things up with like, how can we write a business plan to like either start contract brewing and get the brand started that way, which, you know, if you're contract brewing, if you're doing any kind of business plan, people would love to see like, you know, a proof of concept as far as branding and labels, and as well as like, you know, the ability to make that product. So like we're doing a ton of that, and seeing all these other places pretty much start up with homebrew-esque equipment at the time. It was like, yeah, we could definitely do this. We are doing this. It's just in our basement and backyard versus in like a approved facility. But you know, being in the Boston area at that time and just having finished school, didn't have a lot of experience, didn't have any money. Really. And so it was a bit harder to launch then, but kept going with it, and you know, had that like shiny goal on the shelf for like down the road for sure. And then my business partner Vince became super enamored with brewing and figuring out that process, to the point where he left a cushy job at Fidelity to like that. He'd just gotten out of school and pursued a brewing career, was the first brewer that was hired on to Night Shift Brewing, and started getting his way in there, which was awesome because like during our homebrew days, we were like constantly harassing the Night Shift crew to try our homebrew. It was like, please, what do you think of the labels on this? What do you think of the how it tastes and stuff?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, label's cool. Beer's it's got some butyric in this one. Yeah, it's like it's kind of gross. I'm not gonna lie, but that shit was like kind of perfect motivators to like, oh, let's rebrew this, make it better, and just kind of keep improving the product as much as we can, you know, and that kind of led to kind of our motto and what we do, what our tagline is now, which is brewed until surreal. So with that, it's not just like, which does help tie into like all our surrealist looking graphics and weird stuff, but it's this more of a mission statement to keep making the product until it's the best it can be. Like it's never going to be the absolute pinnacle of what it could be if we tweaked it a little more and kept it going. And then, you know, it's our constant pursuit of that like surreal beer. You know, it's the unattainable goal, but that's something we can share with you and still really, really enjoy along that process of getting there or attempting to get there, you know? I kind of tangent out there. I don't know where.
No, I love that. That was awesome.
It's fun. Like we have, I think, pretty similar backgrounds in like the brewing aspect of it. Not with me in design or the finance and stuff, but just like the same thing. Just fall in love with brewing and the process behind that and creativity, and just getting obsessed doing the homebrew until, like you said, you're essentially a full production brewery out of your garage. And you're like, okay, well, it's probably time we can let's do this. Like I said, just following that passion and then figuring out and taking what you're good at and your personal traits are, and putting everything you got into that brand and building it up. I think it's something cool you can see in the craft beer community and with breweries. It's people from different backgrounds and have different skill sets, but they can pour all that into the creativity of the beer, the branding, the artwork, social media, all that good stuff. So like it's awesome to see that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. At the end of the day, we have a bunch of beer we can drink too.
Yeah,
so it's like, oh shoot, yeah, okay, this isn't half bad. We're not doing surgery here. We're not doctors. We just get to like chill back and then here and there do some podcasts where we chat about this stuff too. So it's it's a pretty nice life to be living right now.
Worse things to do.
Yeah,
there are. That's for sure. Well, that kind of brings up another point that I had when I was thinking about this episode of the podcast, is like, what about craft beer art and pop culture? I mean, I know it carries over into like the can art and the marketing, obviously, especially visiting the DSSOLVR tap room. It's all over. Like your boards are all digital and the graphics are like crazy in there. You've got the skull on the wall that I think is super awesome. The thank you for existing, alien that you guys are pretty well known for also. How do you see like the graphic design artwork of craft beer in pop culture? I mean, it carries over into apparel. I know, there's a lot of musicians that are releasing, one-off beers at this point, which I know Bobby is keen on and trying to get into. There's actual like books that are only and websites that only focus on craft beer artwork. You've also got like art galleries that do shows just on craft beer artwork. So I think it's kind of all over the place. It's almost like I always go back to comparing it to a record cover, right? So what are some of the ways you see currently and in the long run, like, this artwork and this graphic design melding into popular culture or the craft beer culture as a whole?
Yeah. I think especially craft beer has done an amazing job of coming, from times of like macro dominated world of beer. So, you come out of the early 2000s into the 2010s, and that's really where this stuff starts to kick off, becoming more like indie music labels and stuff like that. And, actually becoming a bigger part of the zeitgeist. Like before, having a craft brewery was like, yeah, I get Sam Adams now. That's my craft beer for sure. And now it's like, oh, I could get regional brands. I can get brands that are more local to my county. I can get brands that are in my city. And it's like, I can get a craft beer and brand that's now like closest to my house. It's become way more of a bigger like culture building mechanism as well, especially as a capitalistic like vehicle for our when craft meets this kind of popularity of product. It's crazy to see how it's just exploded way more over the last 10 years than it had ever been. Like I remember when we were first trying to start this, there's only like, I think we just passed 1,000 and now it's getting close to 9, which is just, it's really, really cool to see how the culture of beer has grown and continues to grow. It's like, had your times of complete craziness and line culture and stuff like that just has its own vibe to it. And now you're, post-pandemic, maybe that's died off a little bit, but for other newer players to kind of figure out what this next part of that looks like. And that all feeds definitely into the imagery and graphic standpoint of where this is all going, like especially feeding off of other pop culture things like there's no brand that does not like directly either bite or reference some part of our pop culture in every way. Like I'm a firm believer that everything is a remix of something else. So it's like, how do we how do we put our own remix to that and represent ourselves as well as sell our product at the same time? It's like, that's the fun challenge of it is figuring that out. But yeah.
And I think it's so interesting too, like as you're evolving and realizing there's so much more freedom with the artwork, with the branding, with the marketability, and utilizing, like you said, like the pop culture and being able to kind of blend that into your own creative realm. It's just, again, like it's interesting to see how that can evolve into a way where you can take little bits of it and be creative with it. And even if you're teetering on like taking somebody else's vision, I mean, every idea is a variation of someone else's idea. So like you can make it your own and kind of like hone in on how it represents your brand and then furthermore, how it represents you as an artist. And I think that's like, one of the greatest parts of just like the art culture of craft beer is that you take a little bit of everything. Like you have these creative minds and like you have to represent the beer, you have to represent the brand, you have to represent something that's tangible, especially if you're going into the realm of distribution or like if you're trying to reach out to a market that's completely unique to everybody else. Like Bobby said it once, like beer is like, or craft beer is like music. You can't just say you like one specific band or one specific style of music. There's so much out there, and that's what craft beer kind of represents. So, and in that you have this freedom to kind of create this artwork that represents this like very niche piece of art that is to the brand, to the brewery, to the beer. So I don't know. I think it's like, it's overwhelming and daunting at some points, but then there's also this immense amount of freedom.
Oh yeah. Especially it's like we've seen artists and stuff that, have other bigger ties to other crazy pop culture moments in our history, in our time. Like, just look at like Flying Dog. That's freaking Ralph Steadman's brand.
Yeah.
He's like, that's the gonzo artist, like stepping into the craft beer world. And they've been doing this for years and years now. So it's like, yeah, the craft beer part of pop culture and its influence as well as its desire to take influence from pop culture is definitely there. It's not going away. For sure.
I think there's a circle back even now somewhat with brands like Hershey chocolate, like coming back to other breweries to want to make a beer with them. There's like Sonic just released a seltzer. It's like Sonic the drive-through place, which is like wild to me. And of course it's selling like crazy. So it's funny to see like, I mean, it always happens, right? Like when something cool's happening in indie and like grassroots, the bigger brands want to come back and try to be authentic and cool and part of that.
Some of them too, and some of them like don't do a Hershey's beer without their consent these days.
Right.
Did we get to the portion of cease and desist?
They're coming back past cease and desist. We won't go into it.
We
some horror stories lately.
And they say like no publicity is bad publicity, and there's a lot of these like superfluous like cease and desist, but Hershey's is not one to mess with. Sorry. But I mean, we've had some backlash. We've had a label that was.
We're not going into that.
Oh, they got in trouble.
I'm doing it. Yeah, it's part of. It's a little bit of a badge of honor in this business too. It's like, maybe I stepped a little too close to the edge on this one. You get that
a little bit. Yeah.
But that's part of it. I did like a Gucci referenced one that I'm just waiting for it, but we'll see.
That's all you could do is wait for it. Is that the only one that you've created that you've been a little?
Oh, no, I'll dance that line here and there for sure. Some of them are like, a little bit faster pieces, but it's like try to make it as different as possible while still representing the brand. But I think part of the cool thing about, referencing pop culture is there are plenty of other brands that, you could associate yourself with, or at least try to kind of, tell people what you're about. It's like, we dig this stuff. I'm going to jock its style for a minute. So you understand that that's where we're coming from, and that this is where like we have this shared history or love for this particular kind of, other product. Like, so we'll show that even if it isn't an approved version of it. Like, hell yeah.
That's something we relate to like huge. Like that's like our big influence. Everybody walks into our tap and they're like, "Am I in Warped Tour in 2001?" Yes, you are. Like that's just like
yes,
that's who we are.
That's the vibe.
That's the vibe.
Hell yeah!
Like
hell yeah!
So we do like a Sour Fest every year, and normally it's based off the artwork's based off of some kind of Warped Tour design in one year, and like
sick.
teetered on that design of putting that in the artwork and that and tying it all in. So we kind of just go heavy into that. But like you said, it's not just taking something. It's something we loved and something that represents who we are. And so we kind of push that into the brand and try to find that line of bringing our brand and that brand of something we love into it and, creating something new with it.
Absolutely.
You're paying homage to that in a sense, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the way we always see it. The other people or companies or bands may not always see that.
Specifically bands, but okay. But I think that's the beauty of this industry too, is that we like to push the envelope, and because it's not as competitive as people think, like all craft breweries have this like unspoken like brotherhood of understanding that, all of our beers are different no matter the style. We all do it a little differently. And we're kind of rebels in that because we, want to go against the grain and make sure that we represent ourselves in a unique way. So like when it comes to the artwork, we definitely push the envelope a little more because getting creative and representing yourself, you kind of want to do that. You want to be unique. You want to stand out. And even like one of the brands, Apoeans that I did was again, an homage to Florida, the 407, like that was an homage to Florida. But in order to like,
you tried to put a certain mouse on there and we're like, no.
I drew. Okay.
No.
Listen, no. I got the mouse on there. But it's a mouse. It's not like a cartoon mouse. I physically drew an illustrated mouse with gloves and pants. And it could be
mouse.
No ears.
Mouse.
Keep the ears off.
But again, I don't know. Sorry, go ahead, Craig.
No, I was just gonna say, I think, this is maybe a good spot to sort of wrap things up a little bit. I don't know. Is there anything we didn't cover you guys think we should talk about? Not to put everyone on the spot.
Oh yeah, I think the biggest thing, and it kind of happened organically. I just wanted Mike to be able to tell his story and where he came from, his background, and how that ties into what DSSOLVR's doing, which I think he did very well. Like, unless there's anything else we want to cover about that.
I think what we could do is take a moment to like everybody can plug a little something about what you got going on, what you got coming up. I'm nosy. Like all I do is pay attention to what everyone's got coming up and going on. So, Mike, what's up with DSSOLVR?
We're just hammering away, new releases every week. We have a constantly rotating, tap list here. So yeah, putting out 2 to 3 new products a week. It's hard to say what I got exactly coming up when this comes out, but I'm sure it'll be fun and delicious. Like for sure, look for us at Friday the 13th. Whenever that happens, we're doing some bitching here. So at least plug that. I know there's one this year, so we got that. Yeah. Some emo nights, sprinkle those in. Those are always
Yes.
good.
Oh man, I see the ads for it. I'm like, I wish I could
On my
be
way.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect time to bust out the eyeliner and tight pants.
Just like the
hell yeah. Drop the bangs down. Yeah, there we go.
I'm ready.
So yeah, we'll be having a lot of fun all year. This summer is going to kick ass. So can't wait.
Awesome. You finally get a full year of like normal operation too, hopefully.
I so hope so. It'll happen. It's just full faith of
It's
it.
got to.
It's been a challenge. Bobby, what's going on? What's going on with y'all? You got an anniversary coming up?
Yeah. So by the time this drops, we'll probably already be through it, and I'll be in a lot better, less stress level. But yeah, we have our anniversary coming up next week, so we got a lot of new stuff coming out. I think we're releasing 5 different releases, a lot of barrel aged stuff, and a couple new cans and stuff like that. So it's been fun. A lot of new artwork processes that we're doing. So I've got more involved into the graphic design of a couple of new labels. So
Perfect.
I'm pretty excited about that. And then after that, just like we talked about, having a semi-normal year would be great. Planning events, having the events, just doing all the stuff that we want to do. So yeah, we're stoked on that. So we'll get to the anniversary, and then we got some new festivals and stuff we're planning out for this year.
Lola, what's up on your end?
We have Sabrosa coming up this weekend. Sabrosa's coming out. They're this like big BMX company that's coming out with bikes, and we did a collaboration. We did a crushable pale ale with rose hips. Sabrosa means under the rose. So the beer is called Under the Rose, and we're hoping for a really great turnout. We've been pushing out a lot of new products, and I'm starting to get into a little of the design work, and our creative director is kind of showing me a little bit of the ropes on just learning Illustrator, and he's giving me like little tasks, which I'm excited about. So I'm excited just to get to dive back into a little bit of more of my creative brain side of it and be able to do that a little bit too. So great events coming up, and hopefully a Lola label is going to resurface.
Sweet. Well, I guess I could update y'all on Crafted. We're finally working on a new season. I, took some time off to figure out our like business model, how we're going to work things out, how we're going to approach new seasons. And we're headed to Charlotte for our next season this year. And then hopefully like Brooklyn after that, maybe New York City. I'm a New Yorker at heart, even though I'm technically a Floridian. So I've been dying to go back to Brooklyn. And then we're going to do more episodes of the Makers this year. So the actual show that's part of this podcast. We'll hopefully have some new episodes of that coming out this year, and more podcasts for y'all to listen to. And I think that's it. I think the only other thing maybe I should mention is that I've also been busy building out the Crafted website to be like an existing piece of media that's not just there to sell beer. So look for like stories, like cool interviews, like all kinds of cool stuff coming up. I think that's it. Thanks, Mike.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for having me on here. It was a pleasure chatting with y'all.
Yeah, thanks for rapping about art.
Hopefully I'll make it down to Florida sometime soon. I'd love to come have a pint with y'all in real life.
Yeah, hit us up. Let us know. We're down here, right? Like Lola and Hourglass and stuff is right down the road from us. We're right here in Central Florida, so we're always around.
Hell yeah. Love Florida. So can't wait to get back.
Cool. All right, everyone. Tune in next time for the Makers podcast. We'll see y'all soon.